Hello everyone, Crash here, this is RTA Motorsports. Today we're going to finally talk about the Oculus Quest 2. Here we go.
Welcome to RTA Motorsports.
Alright everyone, so I just want to start by saying 44% of you actually at this time voted on the poll question in the community tab to see this video, and I want to just thank you so much for taking the time out to do that. So if you're new to this channel, again, I go by Crash. This is RTA Motorsports. We have done a lot of coverage on things related to sim racing, but also I'm a huge VR enthusiast and I've reviewed a lot of the headsets that are out on the market. I'm going to post the obligatory titles from the HP Reverb G2 video. If you haven't seen that, it'll also be down in the description below. I don't say that as a weird flex. The reason why I say that is because all those VR headsets over the years has taught me a lot about what I like, what I don't like, things that I feel that work, things that I feel do not work at all in VR. And hopefully one day we'll get that king of all VR headsets. Has this headset actually become that headset? We'll talk a little bit about that later on, but hopefully that experience of trying all those VR headsets actually comes across this video and helps you create an informed buying decision. What took me so long to make this video? Well, it's been 5 months. So I actually received this headset October 14th. I pre-ordered it from Costco because it came with a pretty cool bundle with the Elite head strap here. And the headset itself actually has gone through a lot of changes over the months. So back in the past, whenever a VR headset would first come out, I would test it like crazy and try to get the review out as soon as I can to be relevant within the YouTube space, right? The unfortunate thing is when the Oculus Rift S video came out, I was experiencing a very bad sort of static experience that was very intermittent, and it was something that a lot of people who were early adopters of that headset were experiencing. Now, unfortunately, shortly after that review came out, that experience was actually fixed. It was fixed through firmware and software updates, and not many people were experiencing anything like that anymore. And I've received a lot of flack on, really knocking that headset for something that has been fixed. So there's a lot of things that this headset here was coming out with, updates that were coming through the pipeline that I knew were actually coming through the pipeline. I wanted all that to get settled before we made this review, so that way we know just how this headset actually stands for sim racing. A lot of times when you're talking about the Oculus Quest 2, all the topic of discussion is based around is resolution and clarity. And it's because this headset here is actually boasting some of the highest resolutions that we've seen on VR headsets. It's not the highest, but it's up there in discussion. It actually beats headsets like the Valve Index. And it's because it's running at 1832 by 1920 per eye. And that's all ran through a single LCD display. They call it their fast switching LCD display. It's very different than the Oculus Quest 1 that had dual OLED displays. Now, this display also runs at a few different refresh rates. It could run at 72, which in the very beginning, that's all it was running at, and 90 hertz was beta. But now most experiences are running at 90 hertz now within this headset. And if you're running the Oculus Link, you have a choice. You could run it at 72, 80, or 90 hertz. Or within virtual desktops, they actually give you a lot of options there as well. These lenses actually adjust a little bit differently than we've seen in most VR headsets. So normally you would have a IPD adjustment on the bottom here as a slider. These, you actually have to grab the lenses to move them. And we have only 3 positions. So you have the innermost position, which is 58 millimeters. The second position, 63 millimeters, or the farthest position is 68 millimeters. In the middle there, both doubling as a sensor for proximity, as well as it'll also let you know what position you're in through a number of 1, 2, or 3. Oculus claims that if you lie close to one of those positions, you should still be able to use the headset comfortably without any sort of issue or headaches developing. It's really going to just take a user to just use the headset to see how they feel. My IPD 64, I used the second position without any problems thus far. So, and I use it for hours on end. The faceplate material here is foam and it is removable. You can buy other faceplates. For instance, this one here from VR Cover actually has a PU leather material there, but this one here that comes with it stock is foam. There is no nose gasket there. They're actually using these little flaps that go on the bottom of the lenses to try to block out any sort of light on the outside. So let's roll around to the actual headset itself. On the side here, we do have our power button, our LED indicator light. This is the head strap. This is actually the Elite head strap. Important to note that. On the head straps themselves, on the inside, we do have their head strap speaker on either side, and you can see kind of where those are there through it's like a slot there on the side. As we roll around to the front, you're going to notice this is very reminiscent of the Oculus Quest Gen 1. We do have 4 tracking cameras on each corner that handle not only tracking within 6 degrees of freedom in space for the headset, but they also track your position of your controller at the same time. On the inside here, we do have a battery pack that is rated up to 2.5 hours, and we'll go into that a little bit later on how I actually fared with that. And the processor is a Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 chip, which is specifically made for AR and VR applications. Okay, so let's go over the overall design of the Oculus Quest 2 controllers. Now, first thing straight off the gate is you're going to notice it's an extreme color change from any other Oculus controller we've ever had in the past. It's flip-flopped, so now it's overall white color. Do have that nice little black inlay there where the actual buttons are. And if you're new to Oculus, I do got to say their controllers are amongst some of the best controllers that are out there. They always feel great. The buttons, the joysticks, everything always feels of high quality. And I don't know how they manage it, but the Quest 1 and the Quest 2 and the Rift S, all those controllers are super efficient. They just run off of one AA battery, and this is actually the original AA battery it came with. I have yet to even have to change this battery out, which is insane after 5 months. But overall, you do have a trigger button that feels great. Nice, smooth sort of throw there. It doesn't feel hollow or light or cheap. You have a gripper button there that feels exactly the same. Nice, smooth, dependable throw to it. The 2 buttons, the A and B button on here, as well as the other controllers, the exact same, just mirrored. All feel absolutely great, and they have a nice dead zone at the end there, and the joystick has a nice little knurled edge around it. You could definitely feel when you're on the joystick. You could feel it next to your thumb, and just everything about this controller just feels satisfying. From the Quest 1 to the Quest 2, the controller actually had an upgraded haptic feedback to it. So the vibration motors actually do feel a little bit strong, a little bit better. There's a little bit more definition. You kind of get a little bit more immersed into it. I don't feel like this is the best controller that's out there. That's going to basically lie with the index controllers. But I feel like this is, Oculus has definitely hit a home run. I mean, definitely again with creating a great controller that I feel most people would enjoy. There's a nice little rest spot here for your thumb, so that way you're not always resting it on buttons. And overall, I just feel like it's great. And one thing that they definitely did improve, or actually 2 things they definitely did improve from the Quest 1 to the Quest 2, is just the overall weight, the center of gravity. The Quest 1, if I held it in my hand like this, it would just roll off my hand, because being that now we have the tracking ring up here, it always wanted to rotate down and was a little bit awkward to try to grab. So if you had it hanging off your wrist and you wanted to grab it, you always grabbed it backwards because the center of gravity wanted to always pull the tracking ring down. In this case, it's actually pretty neutral, so it doesn't feel like it wants to rotate in your hand, especially if you're lightly gripping it. The other thing is the battery door always used to slide off through use, especially in first-person shooters, would just slide off my hand. Now they're no longer using the magnets, which I felt like were overcomplicating the situation. They're just using normal clip-in door. But that being said, through heavy use like boxing titles and first-person shooters, I have yet to ever pull that battery door off accidentally at all, which further keeps me in the experience. So overall, home run with this controller. All right, everyone, so you can see I'm inside the rig right now, and we're wearing the Oculus Quest 2 with the USB cable connected here. We're going to test virtual desktop in just a moment. So just in case I didn't mention it, you're actually listening to me from the microphones on the Oculus Quest right now. So Definitely take this into comparison with other microphones I have tested in the past, other headsets. This is specifically from the Oculus Quest 2. So with the USB-C connected to a USB 3.0 port on my computer, what you're going to want to do is make sure you set up your boundary in your room first within the Quest. I'm using stationary boundary because I'm not planning on running around at all. And within here, you want to make sure you download and install Oculus Home and actually log into it. So if we go to devices, you can see Oculus Quest 2 and Touch is already connected. You can see the battery life indicator is there. We're actually using power rather than keeping it charged. So that number has come down a little bit since I've been testing and making sure everything's working. If we click here, you could see these are some options that we have to mess with. You can see connected and active again there. Microphone, we could adjust the volume there. We could adjust the headphone volume. We could send audio to our computer, so that way we could hear out of our computer speakers or just within the headset. And then this is the important tab I wanted to show you all. The graphics preferences, we could adjust 72, 80, and 90 hertz within Link. And also our render resolution, which is really cool there. So we're going to test this within iRacing. And you see if we hit continue and we actually start loading up the sim, hopefully it should automatically recognize the Oculus headset. And let's see, should just take just a moment, validating and launching sim. And there we go. Oculus Rift detected. Start full screen on Rift display. Yes. Alrighty. Here we go. We're going to do a standing start. And you can see I'm actually reprojecting right now. That's why it's saying 44 frames per second. It's actually 45. But it feels really smooth. Starting from last place. Everything looks super sharp. You know, it's absolutely amazing for a headset that the base price is $299. This is this particular one's a $399. Whoa, 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 whoa! This is the $399 256 gigabyte model, but that's not going to affect your experience within the Oculus Link at all. But it's amazing that we are at the point for $299. You could get a headset that you could just plug with a USB-C cable into your computer and get this sort of experience. Not long ago, this level of visual fidelity would have absolutely blown our minds. Now we are spoiled with the HP Reverb G2 and, you know, like the Pimax and the Index and all that. But I do gotta say, this visually, clarity-wise, only clarity looks to me better than what I experienced on the Index. I can barely get a sense for where the pixels are, and it's coming through as like a, if you're looking at the sky, there's like a slight shimmering graininess where you could get an idea that there's pixels there, but you could barely see where the screen door effect would be. I mean, you get a sense for it, but we're at the point where it's extremely hard to really notice. You have to be looking for it. And just overall, the car clarity, the experience is smooth. Oculus has good asynchronous reprojection, which I don't even know if that's what they call it anymore. But their reprojection super smooth, where it's almost indiscernible. I mean, you could notice it a little bit going from 45 to 90, but they do such a good job with it, especially if you're not moving your head much within sim racing. You're not really moving your head much. It just feels really good. The only thing that I will knock this headset on is it's not maybe as bright as the other headsets, but
it's at a level that I feel is appropriate. It feels pretty realistic as far as the brightness levels, and I don't feel like my eyes are straining at all, which is perfect for long racing sessions. And number two, the black levels, because the headset is not as bright, the black levels in light racing sessions like this feel very good. Like the fence looks good. Some of the signs have like a black banner on them, and it doesn't look gray. But if you're doing a nighttime race, everything kind of looks a little gray wash, and that's really an issue with most of these headsets now that we have moved over to LCD instead of the OLEDs. And they did that to try to mitigate the screen door effect that we were all complaining about. But and the last thing I'll knock it on is the FOV. It's about the same FOV as what we experienced on the first generation Quest. And I've seen in the comments of some of my older videos, whenever I'm talking about FOV within a VR headset, people try to make reference to wearing a racing helmet. Now, I do track days in my car, and I have to wear a racing helmet, and my vision is not as blocked off as this. This feels exactly like skiing or snowboarding goggles. It's about that level. It's not really, you know, track day helmets. You do get a sense that they're around your eyes a little bit, but my helmet, definitely I could see more than this. I would really compare that experience to more like the Pimax 5K Plus. So you kind of lose a little bit of that sense of straight line acceleration and speed because you're not really getting things blown by the side of your vision. Within the headset itself, I could see pretty much the entire windshield from right to left, and I could see about half of my driver's window out the side. And if I look over to my left with my eye, I could see the mirror. So I could see everything I need to see within the headset just at a glance. I could just glance over real quick and see if there's anyone in my mirror. Glance up, see my rear mirror up there. But overall, I mean, this is such a competent VR headset and multi-purpose headset, especially for the price, the visuals I'm getting through this headset. This is absolutely incredible that they did this. Especially now it's running at 90. This is such a good experience. I'm not really... The one weird thing that I am experiencing right now, though, is the audio is extremely low in volume. And I'm just using the head strap volume right now. I mean the head strap audio. I could put on my headphones if I wanted to, but I just wanted to test directly from the headset itself. And it sounds like the sounds that I'm hearing sound good. It's just the volume's extremely low, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, because within the Oculus Quest titles themselves, I could really crank this thing and the volume is extremely high. So it's not the headset's fault. I think it's something up with Link maybe, or maybe there's a setting I'm not paying attention to, because all the sounds from my PC seem to be kind of low at the moment for whatever reason. And I have everything turned up to max. I'm not really sure what that's about. Okay, so we're still inside the rig now. We're connected through virtual desktop. You can see there's no cables there. First thing you're going to want to do within the headset itself is actually purchase the virtual desktop application itself from within the headset. Don't purchase the one within Steam VR. That is different. And then you're going to go to vrdesktop.net and download the Streamer app. You could see it here for Windows or the Apple if you're beta, but we're using the Windows app, and you could see what it looks like here once we actually load it up. It's a very simple application. I didn't change any of these settings here on the right side. It does give you your GPU, the latency you're experiencing within the headset itself, and once you actually load up virtual desktop within the headset itself, there's some things you could actually edit, adjust as far as the bit rate coming through the headset, things like that. Once you kind of get it all set up, you have to make sure you're downloading and installing Steam VR, because it uses Steam VR to connect to your PC as far as the type of content you're going to use. So you're going to notice when we load up iRacing here, let's load up this race. Instead of it asking us whether or not we want to use Oculus as our connection method, it's going to say Open VR. And let's see, it should come up any moment. Right there. Open VR headset detected. Start full screen on HMD's display. And we're going to hit yes. All right, so we're going to be loading into iRacing right now. And I'll give you my impressions on what that looks like. All right, let's grid up and let's see what this is like. Now, first thing, once we are here and we're gridding up, I do got to say everything looks sharper than I was experiencing with the link cable. The big problem that you may experience is a little bit of latency, especially when you're gridding up. Seems to be maybe I have the bit rate set a little too high coming through our router. Now, I do have a Wi-Fi 6 router. I've used to use, when I had my first generation Oculus Quest, I used to use just a normal 5 gigahertz Netgear router, but I ended up jumping up to the Wi-Fi 6 once we actually got this headset here. They say the throughput is a little bit higher performance. Honestly, just make sure it's a good Wi-Fi 6, a good 5 gigahertz router, and I think you're going to have a good experience either way. I am experiencing a slight little bit of latency when I move my head. I don't notice it from my inputs on the actual racing itself. It's when I'm moving my head. So that can be a little bit disorienting for some people, and I'm sure that's something that I could tune out, because in other titles like Assetto Corsa that are not as demanding and I don't have my graphical settings as high, I didn't notice that at all. Just seems to be within iRacing at the moment, so that's just letting me know there's some sort of performance issue going on, although it feels like we're hitting 90. It's odd. It looks like we're doing some sort of reprojection at the moment. But I really noticed just how much better everything looks. Everything looks sharper. There's less shimmering going on. I don't notice any compression. And the first thing that I noticed when I came in the car was the dashboard, the individual lines where the RPM gauge is. They're very fine lines there, and I actually see them better with virtual desktop than I do with the Oculus Link. The Oculus Link, I noticed that there was a little bit of shimmering. I don't think it was compression artifact, but it almost seemed like the resolution scale was a little bit too low. And right now, it absolutely, it looks gorgeous. I mean, the visual fidelity that I'm experiencing right now is amazing that we're doing this wirelessly. Just the head movement, that's the only thing. I'm feeling a slight little delay with my head movements, and I think that's something I could tune out, maybe with lowering the bit rate coming through the headset a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe just a restart of the headset may fix it. Not sure. It's not really, kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting that to happen, being that I haven't really experienced this before. I'm sure there's an easy fix. If you know the fix out there, let me know. Because otherwise, this is amazing. My inputs, I literally noticed no delay there. There is, of course, latency because we're wireless, but I'm not feeling that. Like when I turn the wheel, I see the wheel turn. You know what I mean? If I could tune out that latency from the head motion, I think this would be absolutely perfect. This would be the way I would want to race. And the nice thing about it is when you're racing with virtual desktop like this, if you're worried about battery, because we are consuming the battery right now, and typically I get around 2 hours of battery life with this headset. If you need some more battery life than that, you now have your USB-C port open to you to either plug into a battery pack that you can keep in your pocket or plug into a charger and not really worry about losing any power at that point. Because before, with the Oculus Link, we were still actually draining the battery a little bit. We were digging into that battery, so. Whoa! Okay, so this is actually a really cool feature of virtual desktop I wanted to show you all. We're in Assetto Corsa right now. We're in a live lobby. Now check this out. I'm going to get out of the car. Let me put the head controllers down. Oh. And right now, I have my boundary set up and I can see the boundary. But I'm currently in the pits during a track day. And those are all multiplayer. Those are all real people. There's a guy in the grass randomly. This is my car. And yeah, it's still tracking me right now. Right now I'm behind my car. If I poke my head out here, I think it'll stop tracking. Yep. That's the edge of my boundary right now. But absolutely insane. I'm nowhere near my computer right now. I'm watching a multiplayer. Whoa! What the? That was kind of crazy. I'm watching a multiplayer basically drift track day right now from outside the car. All right, now if you want to see something actually really cool, you may notice a little bit of an echo in my voice. I'm not sure if you could hear that at all. I'm actually in my garage downstairs across my house. I'm at another multiplayer track day inside the Oculus Quest 2 in Assetto Corsa on my PC. This is insane. So let's test this. Let's get out of the car. See, I was rocking my gold Toyota AE86. And this is working pretty good. You see there's a random, it looks like almost like a Supra facing us ominously. I'm just going to walk around the pits here. And look at that thing. Absolutely insane. And right now, I'm across the other side of my garage right now. Oh. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, that was close. That was real close. And right now I'm watching a multiplayer track day, essentially. Drift track day. From across my house. This is insane that this works this well.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the pros and cons with the Oculus Quest 2. Of course, starting with the cons. Let's get that out of the way. get the negativity out of the way. First thing I want to go into is the IPD adjustment. Yes, again, 3 settings, 58, 63, and 68 millimeters, all within grabbing the lens and adjusting it to one of those 3 settings. I'm fortunate enough, my IPD is 64. I lie in the middle range. It works for me. But it's just sad whenever you read that someone got excited for the VR headset. It may lie a little bit further out from one of those settings, and the headset's giving him headaches. Now, Oculus claims that this should fit most people. Most people shouldn't have an issue, but it is sad when you do read that some people are not able to use this headset because their IPD is just out of range, and there's really nothing you can do at that point. I feel just having a simple slider here, so that way we could accommodate everyone from 58 to 68 would have been perfectly fine. Maybe would have upped the cost a little bit, and that's probably part of it. And I also know that part of it was making it as simple as possible. So first-time adopters into VR can jump into VR for their first time and not really have to know exactly what their IPD is. But really, a slider is something we've come accustomed to in the VR space, and I kind of wish we would have that here. Next thing I want to go into that's kind of a con is the facial interface itself. Now, I see this headset, it's the most social VR headset that's out there. I see a lot of families buying this as almost like a game console, and now that we have the ability to have multiple accounts on one VR headset, so that way multiple people within the family can use this VR headset, this headset's getting passed around to people in a lot of homes. And this headset, being a room scale standalone VR headset, is being used mostly in room scale VR experiences. And a lot of these VR experiences, there's a lot of exercise based VR experiences. There's a lot of first person shooters. They're like Population 1's a humongously popular one right now. And then you have experiences like Thrill of the Fight. I mean, you're boxing in that one. You're going to sweat. I sweat all the time whenever I'm using this headset, and the foam interface material that's here, it just becomes a sponge, and that's kind of gross passing from one person to the other. And they only include one facial interface in the box. Yes, it does clip on and clip off very, very easily, and you could just buy another one, or like what I did, and I'm not sponsored at all by VR Cover. I purchased this myself, but VR Cover does make facial interfaces here, and you can see there's actually has a nose cup which addresses the other issue of the fact that I could see the ground through looking at the bridge of my nose. They actually address that with a nose cup here, but you can see it's actually PU leather material. So whenever I get sweaty, if I'm passing this to my wife, just wipe it down with a towel. There you go, now it's dry, and I'm not passing a wet sponge for someone to put on their face. It's kind of gross. The next thing I want to go into is the headband design. So you can see we do have the Elite headband on here. It was a part of the combo pack that I purchased, but we don't have a spring mechanism. So we do have a nice ratchet mechanism here to really fit this down on your head and really cinch it on there. But once you get your setting in place, you don't really want to change it too often. But unfortunately, in order to take it off, you have to loosen it up to take it off. And it's really not that big of a deal. But a lot of the other VR headsets that are out there, like the Samsung Odyssey, HP Reverb G2, stuff like that, they all have a little bit of a spring mechanism. So once you get it on your head and you get it to your setting, you just have that little bit of give. So that way you can pull the headset off and on. You never have to adjust anything. You just throw it on and go. The next thing I want to go into is the actual FOV. Now, unfortunately, the FOV on this headset is the same as the Oculus Quest first generation, and that was and is amongst some of the most confined headsets that are out there. The only positive I will say out of that is for first-time adopters, which a lot of people who are buying the Quest 2, it's their first time ever experiencing VR, because a lot of people don't have gaming computers. But FOV, in terms of sim racing, is extremely important. Being able to see your periphery is extremely important. That's also how we get our sense for straight line speed, is really seeing those trees blowing by. And it's not until you're in an open wheeled car and you're driving down a very narrow track and actually experiencing that straight line acceleration, do you really get a sense of immersion. I mean, it's absolutely awesome when you really feel like you're in the car and you're feeling the speed. Being that the FOV is a little bit narrow in this one, I lose that sense of speed a little bit. Headsets like the Valve Index, Pimax 5K Plus, even the HP Reverb G2, which doesn't have a huge FOV, I do get a greater sense of speed than I do in this headset here. I kind of feel like I'm wearing ski goggles or snowboarding goggles, and I do have to turn my head more often, which is something you don't really want to do, especially if you're taking sim racing very seriously. You don't want to turn your head at all. But once I'm in the experience, it does work and it's fun. But as a serious sim racer, I'm not going to want to constantly have to count on turning my head to see if in my periphery someone's right next to me. Yes, I could see my mirrors, but you know, it would be nice to be able to see just a little bit more. It's close, but not quite there. And the last thing I will touch on as far as a con, or a second to last thing actually, is the audio solution. So the stock audio solution, again, we do have these two slots, one on either side that blow the sound over your head. Now, for room scale VR experiences like Population 1, like Thrill of the Fight, things like that, it does work really well and it does get quite loud. The microphones that are built in work really well. I could hear other people's voices very well. It works in that sense, and it's nice not having anything over or in my ears. Great. But when you're in sim racing, part of the immersion factor is the sound of the cars and the sound of the track, the environment. A lot of the cars lend itself more on the low end of frequency range. You get a lot of bass, a lot of boomy noises coming from the cars. For example, the Bentley Continental or the Mercedes AMG, those race cars really give itself to the lower end of the frequencies. They'll also think NASCAR, stock cars, stuff like that. You get the rumble from the engines. That really does not come across on the stock audio solution at all. Now, they do have a means to fix that. You do have an 8mm audio jack. You can just put in your own earbuds or your own over-the-ear headphones. But with this audio, with this headband design here, my Sennheisers do bump into this headband, and if you have bigger headphones, that's going to be something you want to consider. Now, a lot of sim racers out there, they have, you know, surround sound systems or really nice speakers tied to their rig. If that is what you have, that headphone design built into the headset is not going to be an issue, because obviously you could just use your speakers there. But headsets like the HP Reverb G2, the Valve Index, that audio solution there off the ear is much more superior than this one here. Those are able to capture a lot of those frequencies really well. This, not so much. You could obviously hear the car, but you're not going to get immersed in the sounds of the car. And the very last thing I want to touch on, I'm going to touch on it briefly because things are constantly changing within this space, and I don't really want to go too into it. It's kind of a touchy subject for some people, is the fact that you need to have a Facebook account within good standings in order to use the Quest 2. And you have to tie your Facebook account to the Quest 2. It may be a non-issue in the near future. I'm not really sure. Things are always changing in that. But depending on how you feel about having to have a Facebook account will depend on how you feel about that. Let's just put it that way. But at the present time, as far as I know, you have to have a Facebook account in good standings to tie it to your Quest 2. May have changed without me noticing or anything like that, but I'll leave it up to you to decide if that's a con or not. But let's jump into some of the pros. All right, first pro I want to jump into is the overall fitment of the headset once you get it on. So the Oculus Quest first generation had an issue that a lot of people were complaining about, that because of the internals and the battery pack on the front, kind of felt like it was pulling down on the front of your face. I don't get a sense for that at all on this headset. I feel this headset here is greatly improved in the comfort level and just the overall balance of the headset. It's very nice, actually. It's not too bad. It's one of the more comfortable headsets I have ever tried, both with the VR cover and the stock facial interface material. I never really feel like there's any hot spots or any pressure points or anything like that, and I could really be in this headset for a long time without there ever being any issue. Next thing I want to go into is just the overall resolution and clarity. This is some of the most, this is amongst some of the highest resolutions we have seen in a VR headset thus far, and is in the conversation when you're talking about high resolution VR headsets. Yes, it's not going to be like the Pimax 8K Plus, it's not going to be like the HP Reverb G2, but it's close. And that's the thing. I really had a hard time trying to see the screen door effect. I really had a hard time really trying to make out where the pixels were. I mean, you could kind of see them, but it's at the point where it's a non-issue. And I can't believe they got such a high resolution on a standalone VR headset, which will not only make your experience great, but also buying this VR headset just makes the experience last longer, because as future iterations come out, you don't feel as inclined to feeling like you have to upgrade, because just the visual fidelity, when I compare this to the Samsung Odyssey, is absolutely insane, the improvements. And just to think that it's a standalone VR headset. The next pro that I want to go into is the fact that we could take this headset, plug it with a USB-C cable over to our computer using the Oculus Link, and actually get PC grade VR on the headset. Or you could purchase the virtual desktop app within the headset and get completely wireless PC grade VR through your router. Is absolutely insane. So I'm also going to tie in the other pro, which is the cost of the headset. The base price is $299 for the amount of technology they packed in this darn thing. So the reason why I'm kind of rolling that all together is if you go back, and actually I think they still sell the thing, the HTC Vive had a wireless adapter for $349. Just the adapter, not the headset. The adapter itself to get the HTC Vive wireless was $349. This headset starts at $299 for the headset. It's wireless. It's already wireless. And then you could take that and then purchase an app like Virtual Desktop, and now you have basically a very similar experience with higher resolution than the Vive, all within this headset. It's absolutely insane that, I mean, I just take this headset, I go in my living room and I play Half-Life Alyx on this computer upstairs. Like the ability to actually do that, where I could be elsewhere in my house running the title through my router, is absolutely crazy. Yes, you're not going to be wanting to stream things 4K over Netflix at the same time as you're doing your headset here through the same router, but just to have the option to do that is absolutely insane. The amount of things that you're getting here per dollar in VR is absolutely crazy. Okay, so final thoughts on the Oculus Quest 2. I feel for the money, the value, the amount of technology that you're getting for $299, it's an absolutely amazing headset. Pair that with Virtual Desktop and a competent 5 gigahertz or possibly Wi-Fi 6 router, and you could have an amazing PC wireless VR experience that will just continue to blow your mind. Yes, it's with Virtual Desktop, it may not work perfectly all the time, and you're not going to be wanting to stream movies all at the same time, but just the fact that you have the option is absolutely amazing. And then titles are constantly coming out for the Quest 2 that are getting better and better. Like Gorn just came out not too long ago, and it's an old silly title on the PC that I absolutely enjoy. It's one of my favorites, and now it's on the Quest 2 and I'm still enjoying it there. It's just a great value for the money. Now, do I suggest us sim racers go out and buy this headset? No. I find that it's a great headset to add to your arsenal of headsets. I do find that I use this headset more than any other VR headset that I have, but I'm using it for room scale VR experiences only. I like to have the option to use it for my rig and to have a backup VR headset in case I have issues with one of my other VR headsets. It does work for my PC VR needs. I use it in Half-Life Alyx. I have yet to use my HP Reverb G2 with Half-Life Alyx. I mainly use my Oculus Quest 2, and whenever I'm playing Half-Life Alyx, I'm actually playing it downstairs in my living room. To have the option to do that is absolutely insane. And that's the thing. I kind of feel like this is one of the best room scale VR experiences I've had, and probably it's due to not only the cost, but just the liberating aspect of not having any wires and being able to go in other rooms and play through my router is absolutely crazy. I do know the tracking is going to be better on the Valve Index, for example, but I do love the resolution and the clarity coming through the screens of this headset a little bit more, to be honest with you. And I do love the lenses that Oculus creates more than what's on the Valve Index. But for sim racing, I feel like there's better options, and the biggest one to me being the HP Reverb G2. I have a Pimax 5K Plus. I have yet to try the newer line of Pimaxes that are out there. I'd be very interested in trying those. I just feel like there's other options specifically for sim racers that really can get not only the graphical fidelity, but also the FOV that we require and the sound through the headphone design. Do I recommend in the end that you get a Quest 2 for sim racing? No, but if it's your only VR headset, and if it's the only VR headset you could actually afford for $299, do I feel like you're gonna have a bad experience? No, it's actually a good, competent VR headset. But in terms of specific sim racing needs, I do feel like there's other options that fit that particular bill and niche better. So hopefully that all makes sense to everyone. Hopefully I answered any questions you have had. If you have any additional questions, leave them in the comment box below. And again, I'll appreciate it if you subscribe, hit that reminder bell, and hit that like button. Everyone, stay safe, stay happy. We'll see you all next time.